Hello, and welcome back to the club. This is our December 2024 episode. We are reviewing The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. I am one of your hosts, Ashlyn Clark, and I am joined by truly the sweetest, most patient bestie of all time. And I say that because she has been waiting almost 2 weeks to absolutely flame me on this podcast for something. Katie Hoyt, the floor is yours.
Okay, like not you almost making me cry only to realize you were kissing my ass, you little bitch. Okay. So let me set the scene. So you guys might remember, was it last month? Yeah, I think it was last month. We come on here and I say, I am a new mom. I have these sourdough starters now.
This had to be 2 or 3 months ago, right? That's not feel like it was.
Their birthday is October 27th. Like, trust me, this was last month. And Ashlyn is like, you guys, like, this was so insane. It was like within a couple of hours, this girl has a counter full of bannetons and a caraway pan and like all of these things to make sourdough. So fast forward a couple of weeks ago. Now, if you guys don't know, I work full-time from home. I go into the office one day a month to have like monthly meetings.
I forgot this happened on your day in the office.
And if you guys also don't know, Ashlyn in her program has one day a week that she can work from home, that she like studies and catches up on work and does, you know, whatever she needs to do. And she had told me earlier in the day that she was going to go to this place called the Food Nanny, who's like has like a big Instagram following. Like she's really popular in the sourdough world because she heard that they sell sourdough loaves at the Food Nanny store. And I'm like, that's amazing. Fast forward, it's like I seriously have like meetings all day when I go into the office, okay? I get out of work and I have probably 200 Snapchat videos on my phone. And I'm like, this will get me through my drive home. You know, it'll be great. Little did I know, this girl went into the store to buy a sourdough loaf, came out with a starter, a bench scraper, a banneton, flour, what else? Like, she literally bought the whole thing and was like, yeah, like, I do sourdough now.
Okay, let me tell you from my point of view. But first of all, I did not even think about it being on your single day in the office. That's fucking hilarious and it makes the story so much better. But basically, yes. So Jake left town and he had been gone for almost a week, and I took Thursday off, not off, but I took it as my remote day, and I needed to go to Costco. So that was how this all started. But when I woke up, one of my friends had texted me and said, have you heard of the Food Nanny? I love her. I didn't realize that she has a storefront near you. And I was like, oh, I don't know who that is. Like, I'll look her up on Instagram, whatever. Turns out she's a sourdough girly. And I was like, do you know if I can buy the sourdough there? And she was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. And also for reference, Susanna has started eating solids. Well, had a few months ago, but like she really doesn't eat a ton, but she loves bread. So I was like, oh, that would be great if I could get like bread that I know is like really healthy and like fermented, and I can give that to her, and that'll be perfect. So I look it up and it's right by Costco, and I was like, oh, wow. Okay, great. I'll just swing by on my way to Costco.
That makes it even worse.
Right. So I go in there and I'm just looking at it. It's, first of all, beautiful. I love the store. There's like tons of stuff set up for like, there's like kitchenwares and like even like home decor and all kinds of stuff. And I was stopped in the store by this older man. He's like, hey, my name is David. What brings you in today? Blah, blah, blah. We're just talking. And I was like, I was actually looking for like sourdough. And he was like, right. I'm like, no, I was looking to purchase the loaf. And he's like, oh yeah, we actually don't sell the loaves here. She doesn't sell her loaves, but she sells her starter. And I was like, oh, okay. And he said, yeah, it's just like this little freeze-dried starter. And I look at it, it's like $13. I'm like, oh, cool. He's like, yeah, I mean, it is a little bit of work. You have to feed it every day, but like if if you're wanting to make your own bread, it might be easier. And I was like, oh no, I'm not really interested in that. I'm just going to keep looking around. And then he starts talking to me about they use kamut flour. And he's like, this is actually really good for people who have gluten sensitivity. It's higher nutrient value and blah, blah, blah. Just like talking to me about this. He's like, if you bake at all, you can use this in replacement of all-purpose flour. And I was like, yeah, I really don't bake like that. Like, no. So I'm looking around. And you have to understand, like, this came from a place of just like deep boredom. Like I had been at home for a week by myself. Me and Susanna are doing nothing in the afternoons. We're just like hanging out, playing. And I was like, I honestly don't think it would be that hard if I had a starter to do sourdough. And I have no experience baking. I'm not a baker, but I did know that Katie had said that it really makes a difference if the person that you're copying their recipe or like taking advice from, if they live in the same environment as you, then you know that your bread will do better because you know that the flour is already doing better in that environment or doing okay in that environment. So I was like, yeah, I'll just get the starters, $13. No big deal. Well, then I was like, well, I need a banneton probably. So they have those there. I just grabbed a banneton. And then what else did I get? They had the bread scraper. They had the whisk. They had everything there. Just like platter, like sourdough starter kit. I was like, great. So I just grabbed one of everything. I grab a bag of flour. I'm on my way. And then I'm like, I don't have a fucking Dutch oven. But I'm on my way to Costco because I already had to get diapers and wipes. And that's like where we get ours. And a couple of other like household things. If like literally I was like, if I'm going to go in here and if they don't have a Dutch oven, I'll just go to TJ Maxx and see what they have, you know, whatever. They had a set of 2 very nice, like cast iron Dutch ovens for $59. So I was like, oh, this is fate. So I grabbed those and wouldn't you know it, like 5 days later, I made my first loaf of bread.
It was the craziest thing. Like, and I actually felt bad because I'm on my way home. If you guys are from Birmingham, like I live kind of far down 280. So it's like so crazy with traffic already. Like when I was leaving my office, it was so bad. So I'm like taking back roads. Okay. And I'm listening to Ashlyn and she's like, okay. And now like I'm about to go to TJ Maxx because I realized I don't have a jar. So like, what kind of jar do I need to get? And then also like, what kind of mixing bowl? And do I do the bulk fermentation? Is that in the bowl? And like, what kind of bowl do you have? And like asking me all these questions. She's like, let me know. And I'm like, fuck, like it's 3 hours later. And then I get to the Snapchat and she's like, so I left TJ Maxx. And like, I literally got like the full rundown. So I just know I went to work. We're normal. Okay. I get home from work. And Ashlyn is fully 100% in this. She makes sourdough now. Like, it was the craziest experience for me. And I was like, after she came on here and was like soiling my good name over the fact that I was being so insane about sourdough. And now here we are. And she's crazier. It felt great.
I think it also depends on like it's so different how we approach things, Katie and I, because she's like very regimented, very principled, very Enneagram 1. Like, I'm going to research this. I'm going to look into it. And I'm like, I have a friend who does sourdough. If I want to make this starter, I can do it. Like, I just grabbed it all left, you know, like I didn't even think anything about it, but I was Snapchatting her. And I think the context here is also that we Snapchat all day, every day, most days, but it was the singular day that Katie couldn't Snapchat and I could Snapchat way more because I was remote. So there's no one like in the office with me, like listening to me. So I'm just like rambling on. But I did get a jar. I had everything I needed. My first loaf it wasn't a failure. It was still pretty good bread. But there's definitely some tweaks that we need to make. But my starter is no longer in the jar. I'm not doing it right now. I'm going to restart when we get back from Christmas in Gadsden because I didn't want to have to worry about like bringing it with me and, you know, doing all that. So I let her die. May she rest. But whenever you buy it, it's enough for, I think, 3 or 4 starters. So
that's nice.
And it's interesting because the method and the instructions that this woman does on her blog and stuff are totally different than what Katie does. And so I just like did a little bit of both and it turned out okay.
No, I feel like for your first loaf, like It was so good. The only thing is that I feel like now we're getting into the weeds, but I feel like the temperature that she bakes hers on is like crazy. But like everyone's oven is different too, you know? So like
Yeah.
her oven might be
She might have
super
one of those
hot.
big, nice, like
Mm,
whatever
yeah.
they're called that Ballerina Farm has. But yeah, I do recommend, like, if you are interested in getting into sourdough, but you're like really not into like the scientific method, I would get a starter from somebody that you know, because it makes it 10 times
Yeah.
easier. I put the starter with the water and the flour every day for 4 days and it was ready.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do any kind of like science experiments in my kitchen to see like which water ratio would be better, which flour ratio. I mean, I did change some ratios up and stuff, but like overall it was way more straightforward whenever I was using someone else's recipe. I also think, like, for me, I'm not someone who like takes a lot of pride in making food for whatever reason. Like, it's just not something that like I'm like, oh wow, I did this. So I don't have that attachment to like having a starter. So if you are like, I want my own bread, like, you can't like name the starter. It already has a name, you know? Like it's not mine.
Yeah. I know what you mean. But no, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for Susanna that she's gonna now get like fresh bread that was made with love by her mom in her own kitchen.
I know, I'm so excited.
And yeah, but I did tell Ashlyn, like, how rude of her to start making sourdough when she was going to come to my house and I was going to make her sourdough. And now she's going to have her own. And so it's like, it's not special anymore. Like, it was going
to be clear, it's still very special to me because I haven't made a successful, like really successful loaf yet. And no one ate it. Like, I made the loaf and it was just me and my mother-in-law and her friend here in my house. And we split like 2 slices and then like the rest of it died. So like, Susanna hasn't even had it yet. You know, it's just going to be a good experience for everybody.
Okay. Well, I have my schedule written out of when I'm going to make the loaves so that they are fresh and ready for you guys whenever y'all get here.
Perfect.
And I can't wait.
I can't wait either.
Speaking of you guys coming to see me, like, what's going on? What do you have planned? It's like, I know that you're coming here for the holidays, but also Susanna's birthday. Like,
Susanna's
what's going
birthday, like, I can't even explain the fact that that's in 2 weeks. Not even 2 weeks. Like, what the heck? She's about to be 1 year old. So our plans are kind of fluid right now. We have a couple of like more rigid holiday things on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, like our typical family events that don't really change every year. So we'll do those 2 days, but we'll be home from the 19th until the 29th. So we have a lot of flexibility. I think we're going to do Susanna's birthday pictures at your house. And then taken by me, of course.
Yes.
And then we have her actual birthday party on the 21st. We have one on the 21st and one on the 28th. We have a very large family and a lot of friends that have kids. And so it was hard for us to find a place that everyone would fit without having to like rent out a space. So we're having 2 separate smaller parties. And yeah, she will be thoroughly celebrated, I think.
Yeah. No, I am so excited. I seriously cannot believe she is 1 year old. Like,
I know.
How? It's so,
No,
it's
I've
so
no clue.
crazy that that first year they go from being like literally a blob to now she is a person. Like, it's so insane.
It's insane. I was looking up photos of her because I wanted to have, you know, one from each month. I did flop on doing the monthly photos with the sign. Like, after 4 months, like, it just didn't happen again. Or maybe 5. So I was just like looking for like regular photos that I could get when she was 1 month old. It doesn't look anything like her. And then even today on my like iPhone memories, it popped up a photo of the last time she was at Katie's house. Whose baby was that?
I was looking at photos of her yesterday. The fact that like I keep saying like, oh, her hair's so long, but now I'm so used to that. When I see these pictures that she's got like
She had no
literally
hair.
Buzzed, it's the craziest thing.
It did look buzzed. That's so funny. Like, people don't believe me. I'm like, no, she was bald for a good like 3 months, 3 to 4 months.
So funny. But like, I will say like her newborn, like fresh baby pictures. I'm like, that's not Susanna.
That's
but
an alien.
Yeah, I feel like after like the 2 to 3 month mark. After that, she had her like look then, and now it has just like
Yeah.
continued to
Yeah.
evolve. But she is the best thing. I don't know if you can like understand. I show her photo to everyone. I talk to her. I talk to everyone about her. Like, I cannot wait to have this girl at my house. And I told you this the other day, like, I want to smush her so tightly, and like, I need her to be like attached, like part of me. It is so insane. I cannot wait to see her. Like, we FaceTimed the other day when you were doing your loaf, and she has like a full personality these days.
She does. She was eating some spaghetti, and babe, she was living. She's so talkative. She's so funny. Like, and Katie and her family make me feel like Susanna's so loved and famous, because like they're always just like talking about her. Like, I'll send Katie a photo to show her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law is like, oh, I already saw it on your story. Like, she keeps up with her. And so it's just so nice. But I also have other people. Like, my sister went to our hometown last weekend and saw some like old friends from high school at like a restaurant, and they were like talking about Susanna. And I'm like, oh my God, I have birthed a literal star. Like, I'm a stage mom.
100%. Susanna is a star, and I feel like she knows it. Like, all eyes on her at all times.
She prefers it.
Seriously,
Yeah.
I could watch her do anything. Like, randomly, Hoyt will be like, "Did you see that video of Susanna walking?" And like, she's not like doing anything. She's just walking. But Hoyt has watched the entire 60 seconds, like attentively, taking notes. You know, and he's like, and look at the way like her little legs, like. We are obsessed with her.
I cannot wait for her to see you guys. Like, just being around people who love her all the time. It's hard being away from people, like, because my friends here like her, and they've been around her, but they didn't know her when she was a little tiny baby, and they didn't know us whenever we were pregnant. So it's just so nice to go home and like have people just love her. I just love it so much. She's the best thing. I think people talk about parenthood and they say that it's the best thing ever, but I still think that that's underselling it. Like, I don't know what words could portray how you feel about it. Like, accurately. I don't think that there are words for it. I'm obsessed with her.
Yeah, same. From afar, of course.
So what are y'all's plans for the holidays outside of hosting us?
We, of course, will be like back and forth between Gadsden and Birmingham.
Perfect. Us too.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, it's going to be just like our typical. We did do something funny this year. So with Hoyt's family, we are not really doing gifts. We're just going to all take a trip to the beach. We leave like the 27th, come home New Year's Day. And we've talked about doing that for so long because like he kind of has a like big family, and it's like really hard to buy gifts for everyone every year, especially because we're just the kind of people, like, if we want something, we just buy it. And so then you have to think
that's the hard part about being an adult.
So we all just like finally decided no gifts, but we are doing, we like drew names, and you have to do $25 gift from the thrift store. And it has been so much fun. If you guys, I don't think I've ever said this before, but Hoyt and his mom like love thrift shopping. Like, it is their thing. They love like bargain stores, bin stores, the thrift shop. Like, they are obsessed.
I'm
with
obsessed.
It. So
It's my favorite thing about Hoyt and his family, because whenever I lived in Birmingham, there was this store called Crazy Casboys, if anyone's ever heard of it. There's like literally radio ads for it. But it's a bin store, and you can go and just like go on a regular day and pay normal price. But there's like, 25 cents Friday or something, or like 50 cents Friday. And basically everything in the store, they get shipments on Monday, and then they price everything. And then as the week goes on, it slowly gets cheaper to buy stuff because they're going to get another shipment in that next weekend. And so on Fridays in the morning, you could not get in the parking lot. One time I was trying to go, it was like in a plaza, and there was a Hobby Lobby there. And I was trying to go to Hobby Lobby, but I couldn't get through the mass of people. Like, you have to stand in line to get into the door. And I just imagine Hoyt and his mom just like standing there, like trying to figure out what they're going to get. And just
like
coming back with the most useless random shit.
Literally, that's all the time he walks in yesterday. So they like did a big shopping day yesterday, and he like sets this thing down on the table, and I was like, why? And he said, this is a gift. Like he got his grandpa, so he's like, this is a gift, but also, and then he plops this huge bag of clothes on the countertop, and I was like, why? And he said it was, I think he said like $2 a pound of clothes. And so
What?
look, he starts pulling out the craziest shit. He bought stuff for Susanna. He bought me, if you guys don't listen to the toast, you might not know what I'm talking about, but a shirt that says camp, it's a sweatshirt that says Camp Toast. And on the back it says the morning toast in the Poconos. It was 50 cents. So
Insane.
he brought that
When did
home for
when did they
me.
launch that, you think? I don't think I listened to them when they launched the Camp Toast merch.
That had to be like 2018 or 2019 or something like
That's
that.
crazy.
But that he brings home this thing that's like a hoodie, but the hoodie like reaches the ground, and he said, I got this for
It's
you.
a Snuggie.
It's like yes, it's like tattered. Okay, like it's like in shambles, and he pulls it out and he says, I got this for you. And I was like, literally, why? And then he says to me, I mean, not like to wear in public or anything. And I was like,
no, of course. I think we're still, the question remains.
So insane. He bought himself all kinds of crap. And I was like, okay, how much of what you bought is a gift? And he said, just this one thing. He literally bought like 15 things. None of it was gifts except for one thing.
That is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
The funniest part about the thrift store gifts, which I think is like a really good idea, is that Katie sent me something on Amazon and was like, it was like a gadget. It was like, I think I'm going to get this for Kathy for Christmas and just pretend like it's from the thrift store. And I had no context. I was like, I'm sorry. Since when is the thrift store better than Amazon? Like for like getting someone something. She was like, oh my God, I haven't told you. Because she was like, and I still have to spend like $10 more on her because it was only $6. Like, what the fuck? But the funniest part is that Hoyt goes to the thrift stores in Birmingham so often. Like he has his finger on the fucking pulse, okay, of these thrift stores. So when she sent it to Hoyt, she said, hey, I think I want to get your mom this thing. I think it's like the perfect gift, but it's not from a thrift store. So I'll go get her something else from the thrift store. And he calls her and is like, hey, don't worry about ordering that. They have the exact same thing at the thrift store down by our house. I'll go grab it. And then he grabbed it and it was $6. Like he just knew it was there because he'd already been.
It's so funny. And like, I can't say what it is because this podcast is going to come out before Christmas. But like, if you guys knew what the item was, it makes the story actually like 10 times funnier. Maybe I'll share that in January. But so funny. It's really nice. Like, not been stressful at all to get gifts for people this year. So it's been lovely. And yeah, other than that, did you have anything else that you wanted to catch up on?
No, I think that's all my stuff. I can't wait to do photos of Susanna at your house. Oh, I was going to send some baking tins to your house as well for the cake. Okay. We're going to do Susanna's little smash cake photos at Katie's. And we're trad wives. So we're going to do like a homemade cake. I think Simple Mills has like a really good white cake option, just like pre-made with good ingredients, and then we can do like an icing. But besides that, just remind me about the baking tins. I want to do like the small ones. But Jake said she's not allowed to have 3 in 1 week, so we're only going to do 2 in 1 week.
Okay, right. Yeah. I have had the Simple Meals before. It is very good. Just like the vanilla cake, and they have that as well. Okay. I'm going to go later today if you want me to just grab that for you.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Not to like put our admin out here for everyone to hear, but yeah, I can pick that up for you. Okay, the only other thing that I wanted to very briefly touch on is that I went and saw Wicked earlier a couple of days ago.
Jealous. Okay.
It was so good. Actually, I have to send you these videos. So have you seen the TikToks of people saying like, I'm Katie and this is me before Wicked? And then like it's...
No.
They cut to like the after and everybody's always like crying tears. Okay. We weren't planning to do that, but like before the movie, I was like jokingly like said it to Hoyt. So then he videos me saying it. Well, we didn't get an after because we just like are normal. So we just like got up and left the movie theater. I will send you what he put the after of for the last, let's see, I saw it on Friday. Today's Sunday. So for the last 2 days, I've been trying to hit that last note of Defying Gravity. And the thing is, I like keep having like a frog in my throat. So it sounds like shit, but like I swear to God I can hit the note. And one of these days, I'm going to get it and Hoyt's going to get it on video. And the world will know that like I have talents, like vocally.
Oh my God, maybe you'll get a casting call.
Let's hope so.
I'm so jealous. I think so. Caitlin and I were planning on going to see it sometime over the break. So I don't know when that's going to be. We'll have to schedule it out. But yeah, I'm like dying to see it. We saw it on Broadway, so I know the story and I know the songs, but I still have not listened to the soundtrack because I don't want to, like, in case I don't know some of the stuff that happens, I don't want to spoil anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally. My mother-in-law, the queen of spoiling things, she spoiled 2 things for me now from Wicked, and so I won't be bringing it up around her anymore because, like, on the way home, she called and was like, "You picked up on this, right?" And we were like, no.
Oh, because part 2 didn't come out yet. So, like, there's still stuff for you
yeah.
to discover.
Yeah, and I
Damn.
have not ever, like, seen I didn't know the premise of the story. Like, I literally didn't know anything, which is how I prefer to go into things such as this. And now, like, everything's been ruined for me, so
that sucks.
Yeah.
The funny part is that Jake's mom had never seen it on Broadway, but she just wanted to go see the movie, and she has already seen it twice, plays the soundtrack 24/7, like knows all the words, is obsessed, and she wants to go see it again with me and Caitlin over the holidays because she loves it that much. So I'm confident that I will like it.
Yeah, the last 30 minutes, like, even Hoyt and Dylan, Hoyt was like, I literally had chills at the end. And Dylan was like, no, like, it was so electric. The ending, like, I was like, not sobbing, but like streams of tears running down my face. The end, like, is so
wow. Okay.
Chills. So good.
Oh, I don't even know where it ends, so I'm excited to see.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll love.
Okay. So now that we've discussed. Oh, also, if you are listening to this, I don't know exactly when we're going to drop this episode, but we are going to do like a 2024 club wrapped and just talk about like the books that we loved and the books that we're looking forward to. So we also kind of talked about like what we've been reading recently in that episode. So if you want to listen to more about book stuff, we're also talking about like movie adaptations and stuff like that. That'll be on a separate episode if you need some more content for the holidays. But I'm happy to dive right into The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent if you are ready.
I would absolutely love to. So we will start with our author biography and our book synopsis. So this book is by Carissa Broadbent, and then I will read her biography if you want to do the synopsis afterward.
Yeah.
So Carissa Broadbent. I've been concerning teachers and parents with mercilessly grim tales since I was roughly 9 years old. Since then, my stories have gotten slightly less depressing and hopefully a lot more readable. Today, I write fantasy novels with a heaping dose of badass ladies and a big pinch of romance. When I'm not writing, I'm working at my day job in cybersecurity marketing, watching too many movies, or drawing. I live with my fiance, one very well-behaved rabbit, one very poorly behaved rabbit, and one perpetually skeptical cat in Rhode Island. Now, I will say, I believe this is an old author biography because she also, like, has a child. I think she might be married now.
I think you're right.
Point.
Yeah, she's a little bit more active on social media, so you can find out more about her life. But this is just from her website, so homegirl, you need to update it.
Yeah, and I looked on Goodreads too. Like, this is the same thing on Goodreads, so she does need a little update. I don't think she works a day job anymore. I think that she's doing quite well. I wouldn't.
Because cybersecurity marketing? Are you joking?
Yeah. Sounds miserable, but I think she's like doing well with her books these days. So
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, her first book in this series, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, was the first book that we ever did on this podcast. We loved it. We
So
absolutely love
crazy. It was so
her.
good.
So this was like a really fun book for us to dive into, and yeah, we love Carissa just like as a general rule.
Yep, totally love her. Okay, so this book is the third main book in the series, as you know, but the book synopsis kind of like, I don't know. You'll see what I mean. Okay.
Okay.
Misha lost everything when she was forcibly turned into a vampire. Her home, her humanity, and the most devastating of all, the love of the sun god to whom she had devoted her life. Now sentenced to a death for murdering the vampire who turned her, redemption feels impossible. But when Misha is saved by Asar, the bastard prince of the House of Shadow, with a past as brutal as his scars, she's forced into a mission worse than execution, a journey to the underworld to resurrect the god of death himself. Yet, Misha's punishment may be the key to her salvation. In a secret meeting, her sun god commands her to help Asar in his mission, only to betray him by killing the god of death. Misha and Azar must travel the treacherous path to the underworld, facing trials, beasts, and the vengeful ghosts of their pasts. But most dangerous of all is the alluring call of the darkness, and her forbidden attraction to Asar, a burgeoning bond that risks invoking the wrath of gods. As her betrayal looms, the underworld closes in, and angry gods grow restless. Misha will be forced to choose between the redemption of the sun or the damnation of the darkness.
Okay, like why do I need to read the book after I just
That's, yeah, okay. So the book synopsis, again, like, I cannot stress this enough. Why are we telling everyone the entire plot?
I literally hate it. Like, and I never want to complain about anything that she does, but this is so beyond unnecessary. Like, you literally told us the plot of the book.
So, like, the book, whenever you read it, I feel like it's in the same world. It's in the same, like, vein as what happened in the other books. I did kind of forget, like, everything that happened in the Ashes and the Starcursed King, to be honest. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, it feels disjointed in the synopsis. I don't know why. Maybe just because they didn't bring up, like, Rain and Araya. But it just feels like it's its own thing, which I think she does want them to be very separate duologies. That's kind of her goal. So I think she definitely hit the nail on the head there, but I don't know. I'm not obsessed with the synopsis. But I just finished this book last night at 10 p.m. So a lot of my feelings are still really fresh. However, my notes are totally gone. Like, I don't know where they all went. So some of this is just off the dome, but I remember most of it because I wrote them this morning.
Okay, we will do our best. I'll try to like prompt you with some things. Just
Yeah, you can just go through the list and
okay,
we can.
Okay, so we will jump into our character lineup. First up is our main character. How are we saying her name? I feel
Misha?
like okay, that's what I think
she
we
had it.
landed
She
on.
had it spelled out once in the book, and I was like, "Oh my god, thank God we were right."
Yes. Okay. So that was the thing. I felt like in previous books, Carissa, like on her Instagram stories, I felt like she was saying Misha, but in the book, when she says like how Asar pronounced her name, or I don't remember if it was Asar, someone pronounced her name, she said Misha. So I feel confident in rolling forward with that. Just wanted to make sure that I didn't like imagine that.
No. I think I was like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, thank God, finally, because I felt the same way about Feyre, but she did it very early on so that we could figure it out. But yeah,
yes.
As far as her character goes, I think I still have the same complaints as I did whenever we were in the other book, like the sunshine of it all, and always throwing a smile on your face, and just like kind of ignoring certain things that are bad just to be the light, quote unquote.
Yeah.
It really, really bothers me. I don't like that, especially because like with her being a side character, it was really annoying. But it being a main character and knowing that her internal monologue and her internal feelings were almost never in line with her outward appearance, I hated it more. I'm like, just say what you mean and just be sad about something. Like, you don't always have to be the person.
that is almost verbatim what I wrote down. Like, she's not your typical FMC, like fantasy kind of girl. The brightness, like, it gets on my nerves a little bit. I thought that we were gonna like somehow come around to this like being a defense mechanism and like go into the whole like psychology around it. And
I thought so too. I was really excited for that part, and it didn't happen.
Same. I thought she was gonna learn like it's okay to be angry, whatever. This kind of like I view it two ways because it pissed me off. Okay, pissed me off that's extreme. It bothered me in this book, but at the same time, a lot of times when I'm reading books, I feel like very easily infuriated by a character, like especially the female main character, getting mad at like the male main character, like when he doesn't necessarily deserve it or she hasn't like heard the whole story. That didn't happen in this book because it's like everything is almost like
Because she can't get mad.
rug.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that didn't necessarily happen, but I'm like, please get upset or mad or sad about literally anything at any point in time and like let it show, like it's fine. So that was bothering me.
It bothered me too, but I do think overall I liked reading about her more than I thought I would, and she still had really good character development as far as her relationship with Atraxis and her perception of herself and being a vampire. I thought that was like beautifully written from Carissa. Like, I loved the evolution of that.
Same. And like her getting to like come into the Shadowborn magic and like learn how to use that instead. And it seems like she's like every bit as, if not more powerful with that magic than she was with Atraxis's magic. And I wrote the same thing, like loath as I am to admit, like I did come around to her in the end and I did really enjoy reading about her and like enjoyed her as the main character.
Yeah.
But the sunshine of it all, like it is bothersome to me.
Yeah. I think that's it. I was going to say, you have previously said in the podcast that you hate Grumpy Sunshine. So I thought you were going to have like a stronger opinion about this. But what I want to bring up is like, does Nesta and Cassian not count as Grumpy Sunshine?
Yes. And I feel like maybe it's because like she's the grump and he's the sunshine.
Okay, roles reversed is better for you. Like you like it more that way.
I wouldn't say is okay. I feel like that's almost like exclusive to Nesta and Cassian's characters, like how they were written almost. Because I think a lot of times when people do Grumpy Sunshine, like the guy is usually the grump and he's just like an asshole because he's an asshole. But I felt like Nesta's trauma was like thoroughly explained to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I'm don't make me like
I just didn't know because like to me they feel Grumpy Sunshine, but I also don't like I like Grumpy Sunshine quote unquote less when the male, like I like the male to be more like funny and outgoing, and I don't mind if the female is grumpy as much.
Yeah.
And maybe
I agree.
I wonder if it's because we're usually in the female main character's like point of view, so it's easier to understand her. Whereas if the male is grumpy and we're not getting his internal monologue, like we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid point. But yeah, and I felt like Asar, he was a little bit grumpy, but I didn't feel like he was like insanely so to the point where I was like, oh my God, this guy is such a dick. I didn't feel that way at all.
How did you feel about Asar? We can just move on if you want.
Okay, let me see if I had anything else. Okay, I just wrote, I really enjoyed her backstory. I didn't know who to lump this in with. Vincent being at the end was the craziest turn of events, and like I'm scared about what's going to happen next. I hope that he just helps her and we're back done with him, because I really enjoyed not having him be a part of the story anymore.
I agree. Whenever she was describing, she was like 2 silver eyes, blonde hair swept, and I was like, this feels like I'm supposed to know who she's talking about, and I just don't. And then she said who he was, and I was like, huh? What?
Same. When she was saying, I was like, wait, who's blonde? I like stopped and I was like, Septimus? No, he doesn't have blonde hair. I'm like literally like racking my brain trying to figure this out. But I had the exact same experience. But anyway, okay, moving on to Asar. So I literally wrote down hot, but I need him to be a little meaner and a little more badass. I just wasn't feeling the like I'm one of those girls like I like a chase. Like I do need you to be mean to me in like a kind of like a low blow kind of way, and he kind of like wasn't that. He just was like a little bit grumpy.
Yeah, he wasn't ever actually it definitely wasn't like enemies ever, which I think I usually like, but I still liked it. I thought it was enough for me because also most recently I've read When the Moon Hatched, and that guy was also the same way. Like he wasn't necessarily like always super nice to her, but he was definitely a softie, and he didn't hide it, and I don't hate it. I kind of like it.
Okay, yeah, and I feel the same way. Like I really liked Asar, and I like them together. Like Carissa Broadbent could like write her grocery list and I would eat it up, but this is not my favorite. And I even wrote down like I did not have that kind of like yearning, like desperation for them to get together. I don't know, like I just didn't feel as moved by like the romance portion of this story, but overall like I really like him and I really like his story and everything. But yeah, I just didn't necessarily feel like he was, my favorite book boyfriend ever by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I did very much enjoy his past, like the parts about his past and also Misha's past. But whenever they would bring up Ophelia and just kind of whenever he resurrected Luce, I was like, okay, this is cool to know all of this stuff, because he was, again, like you said, I wasn't like super moved by the romance of it all, but almost it felt like there wasn't a lot of regular relationship that we had.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why, because everything, they were just like thrown into this like mission together.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Yeah. It's like, it's almost like I didn't feel like I knew him until we got the backup stories, because they didn't talk almost.
Yes.
It was weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's literally like you're reading my notes. Like I wrote almost the exact same thing. The story of like Luce and how, what is his name? Malik, like killed Luce, seriously broke my heart. And then I'm so happy that like Luce came back, and which I also like I'm gonna skip this part because I wrote down a section for Luce. But anyway, like little boy Asar, I felt so bad for him, like getting picked on and made fun of because he's like the bastard child. But it all kind of worked out for him in the end.
Yeah, so I was really happy for him when he got the air mark. I was like, yes, like he gets a win.
Same. And I would love to know what happened. And I'm assuming that will come to fruition in the next book. Like we'll learn how his father was killed and everything. But it's also so insane that he is Alaris's descendant. Like,
yeah, that came out of nowhere. Too. I had absolutely no clue. I never would have picked up on that. Yeah, it was a really, really good twist.
Yeah, I agree. And I am like desperate for the next book and to know like how he's gonna get Misha back, and like all these backstories about Alaris, and like how does Nyaxia feel? Like, is Nyaxia technically his stepmom? Like, it's just kind of crazy.
Wait, Nyaxia, his stepmom?
Yeah.
No, his dad is the guy that just died. His dad isn't Alaris. No, he has god blood in him. So his mom was probably one of Alaris's.
You're right. He was just a descendant, not necessarily that, right? Because his dad
was the king of the Shadowborn. Yeah.
All the family stuff getting confused in my head. But I am still very intrigued to learn the backstory of all of that. And like, I feel like they didn't go into detail at all about like who his mom was or anything. So.
Yeah, none of that was fleshed out. So maybe she'll go into that. I would be interested. And I love the way it ended with him just being like, he's like, I don't care. I can wait. I'm going to get her back. Like, he's so matter of fact all the time. I love that about him.
Same. No, I thought he was a great male main character. And like, I really don't have any complaints about him. I just would have preferred more of an enemies to lover. And I feel like the setting, like we were set up for her to develop that. And she just like made the choice not to make them like,
yeah.
So anyway, so next up I had Loose. And I love having like a pet character in the mix. She is the goodest girl. Like,
she's the best.
I'm obsessed, and I'm really glad that she wrote that in.
Me too. I was so thankful for her character. It took me a long time to realize that she did have a real body outside of the shadows. I thought she was just shadow. So then whenever they talk about she was like they were touching her or petting her, I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And the skull thing kind of confused me, but you know what? Like, it doesn't matter. She's beautiful the way she is, and she's a perfect girl. She was the best addition too, because I felt like she was the one that was kind of what's the word? Like bridging the two together. Like she was their bridge between her and Misha and Asar.
Yeah.
So I loved her, and it was so sweet how like even Misha was like, she's the best girl. She's the best girl. Like, yeah, she totally is.
Yes, she is. But what I did write down is, where is she at the end of the book? Because Asar gets taken away by the gods, and Misha is in the underworld. So like, where's Luce?
Where is Luce? That's a good question. I have no clue. Huh.
So
I didn't even think about that. I was too busy like confused about what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot to deal with, and I only thought about it like after the fact when I was actually writing these notes. But I'm worried about her. Hopefully she's hanging out with Esme or something in
or maybe she's in
secrets.
Northrend, like on her way back up to the regular human world or whatever.
I have no doubt that like she will reunite with Asar at some point in the next book, but still, like, I'm worried about her. Another thing that I had written for Asar is that his last name is Volteri, and also we have the Esme character, and so
oh my gosh, yeah, so true.
I'm curious, like, what is, because it's like in Twilight, like it's obviously Volturi. But what's that connection there? Like, does that word mean something that's like similar to vampires?
I don't know. Let me see.
And I feel like Esme, like, that's such a choice to put into a vampire book, especially in the year 2024. Like, you know what you're doing. Everyone knows what that name is.
Volturi is Latin for they who are like vultures, or they who tear apart.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, vulture.
Okay, I guess that makes more sense. But I just thought that was kind of a funny tidbit.
That's interesting. Whenever I saw Esme, I thought about that, and then I did not even think about Volteri. That's hilarious. I did hate that he called Misha by her last name. That's bothersome to me.
Agree. And like, for what? It's not like anybody else called her that, and like, it doesn't necessarily feel like last names are like of importance in this world. So it just
when he first said it, and she said like, oh, he's using my last name, and kind of made it feel important, there was never a further explanation as to why.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't like that. I think she was just trying to make a point of like, when he started to care for her, or he was worried about her, he would use her first
real name. Okay.
So, anyway. Okay, next on the list, I have,
Chandra.
I've been saying Chandra and
Me too.
Elias.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I've been saying
what
Elias.
were your thoughts?
We
we already had this discussion.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, in the other book, they did call him Ilias on the audiobook, but I know a person named Elias that's spelled like this, so that's why I think that. But
yeah, you're probably right then.
I am happy to see them both go. I understand that they added to the journey, but I feel like more so I was just ready for Misha and Asar to be alone. Like, I was like, just get
Yeah.
out of here. Like, what are y'all doing here? I can't remember why Chandra came or why he resurrected her.
Because he said that he like needed to cover his bases so that like if something happened to one of them, he would still have the other around to help him out with the spell.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Yeah, I don't think that we're done hearing from Elias because he did steal one of the poppy petals. But
Yeah.
I don't want to, like, I don't know. I can't really figure out what his goal is. Obviously, he was excited to kill Asar whenever the air mark came. So he's obviously, I don't know if he's on Egret's side or if he has his own separate mission. It's kind of confusing.
Yeah, yeah. I had the exact same thought. Like I was happy to have them there on the journey. I felt like with Chandra, like at first I was like, she's so brave. Like that's so scary. She's like 60 years old in the underworld, like having to do all of this stuff. But then when it said like she was killing the vampire babies, I was like,
I
okay,
was like,
well,
girl.
yeah. So I was like, okay, well, like I'm happy to see her go because I was connected to her. Like really wanted, and like I thought Misha was gonna save her or whatever, and then when she said that I was like, no, like I'm happy to be done. And then Elias, him, I hated him, but at the same time I felt like he added kind of like a nice like dynamic to the whole group. So I don't know, and he obviously like is carrying the story over now because he has the poppy petal, so we'll see what comes with that. But I'm in the same boat. Like as soon as they left, I was like, thank God. I felt like they were like dragging me down.
Yeah, get out of here. But the other thing about Elias is it seems like he was really good friends with Malik. So I'm wondering if he has his own mission forward about like what should happen with the Shadowborn throne, or if Ygritte and him are like doing something together. I have absolutely no clue what to even expect because
Yeah.
I don't know enough about him. But yeah.
Huh. No, that's a good thought too. That was all that I really had for them. I felt like we didn't get too much. So
Yeah.
we can go ahead and move on to Eomin and Seisha. Is that how you're saying their names?
Yeah, I did not know how to say Eamon. Seisha's right. My brain wants to say like Eowman. I don't know. But anyways, I felt so bad for that little guy, Eoman or whatever. Like, I felt so bad that he was just stuck in the underworld, could never get home. He just had a crush on Misha and wanted to help her in any way that he could. I don't know. I felt so bad. I was so happy that Asar helped him, like usher him into the
Same.
afterlife. I have so many questions though about Seisha because she was
Okay.
still in love with Atraxus whenever he was killed and she was still like devoted to him. So then what happens to her? Because her journey to the afterlife kind of hinged upon Misha completing the task.
Exactly. And wait, but I thought he said if Misha does this, he will give Seisha like the life that she should have lived.
Oh yeah, he was going to resurrect her. That's right. Yeah.
Yes. So, and I literally wrote that down. Like, I guess she's not getting her second chance at life, or I don't know if Asar can give that to her, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was the same way. And like Seisha at first, I could not tell if she was like a little bit of a cunt when it came to like Misha being the chosen one or whatever, and like pushing her a little bit too far into that for the sake of her own good. But I actually don't think it was that. Like I think that Seisha genuinely was just like happy to have a place to land and like a place to call home, because it seemed like before that obviously they were just like these two homeless and like uncared for
Yeah.
children. But the story about Misha being the one to kill her and like Misha not knowing that seriously broke my heart.
Yeah,
her.
I hated that too. I did kind of feel like Seisha towed the line of being overbearing and kind of forcing her into this position. But of course,
Yeah.
Misha doesn't see it that way because she's just like, she's my bigger sister. She's like the best
Yeah.
acolyte. She's so devoted. I want to be like her. And so It's really hard to say because all we're getting it from is Misha's perspective. And
Yeah,
obviously
that's
she's like
true.
really guilty for killing her and she's always going to remember her in a happy way. But I do think, especially at the end, like when she was so devoted to Atraxis and, I don't know. I don't like it. So I don't
Yeah.
really, I don't really think that she was like the best character, but I think she added a
Mm-hmm.
lot to the story. Um,
Yeah.
I just wonder like, where is she? Like, what's she doing?
I know, especially now because like she obviously hasn't made it to the underworld yet. So you have to think that she'll come back into play yet again in the next book. So, speaking of Atraxis, what were your thoughts on him?
Oh my God. I'm so happy he's dead. I don't think I've been happier for a character to die since Vincent. Like, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
He was so creepy. Like, what do you mean you picked a girl when she was 8 years old and made her wait around and have sex with you when she was 16 and you're 1 million years old and can have sex with anybody you want, but she's not allowed to do
Mm-hmm.
whatever she wants. And the apricot thing, I don't know. It was just giving innuendo and she was 8. Like,
Yeah.
let's where's your morals? There's no morals here.
Completely agree. I hated the fact that they actually had sex. Like I thought the marriage was just going to be kind of like a more
Symbolic.
ceremonial type thing.
Yeah.
Yes. I did not realize that like she was literally like wed to him, not able to do anything with any other men like for the rest of her life. Absolutely hated that. At first I was like, this works out so well that like she has this god in her favor and now like he's going to be looking after her like throughout this whole entire process through the underworld. And then like we just really devolved and I was like,
Yeah.
the way I cannot describe to you how happy I am that she will no longer be getting burned every time she uses his magic.
He's such a fucking asshole. Like, that's what I really felt bad for Misha at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. And then I just got fed up with her being so obsessed with him because I'm like,
Same.
he has not shown you in any way that he gives a shit about you. He can literally make you stop burning if he wanted to, but he won't.
Yes. No, he's just like a dick. And like, to be completely fair, if I was a Troxus, I would have killed Misha a long time ago. Like, he honestly gave her way too many chances
No,
to.
that's I think he did something worse to her by sending her to Obitrace and knowing that she was going to turn to a vampire. I know that he knew that she was going to kill Seisha. I know that. So it's like
Mm,
he sent her here to be punished and
mm-hmm.
like kept her alive, quote unquote. But it's like, why would you
Yeah.
want to be alive? He knew that she would have
Yeah.
a harder time staying alive as a vampire than she would just like
Yeah.
dying and going to the
Yeah.
afterlife.
Exactly. No, like the guy's a total fucking dick. But this is like the thing that trips me up. So I genuinely can't figure out how we are supposed to feel about the gods regarding like, are we supposed to be on Nyaxia's side? Because in the like original duology, you really kind of hate her too. So, but then it's like you hate the other gods that punished her, and then you're getting in this book like Nyaxia and Alaris' story, and you're supposed to like feel really good about that. But by the same token, you don't want Alaris to come back, and like it's going to cause total chaos if they're like in charge again. So I kind of feel like I can't really figure out if we're supposed to take sides or in the end we're supposed to like actually just hate all of them.
I think you're supposed to hate them all. Because at the end, when Asara's like, I saw the god of justice deliver the injustice of killing
Mm-hmm.
Misha, and then the god of this and that, just like going back and forth about like
Yeah.
what they represent versus what they did. I think you're supposed to hate them all.
That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. This feels like the end of the story is all the gods are gone. Like they somehow find a way to like kill all the gods, or maybe there's like a select few that end up being good in the end. But I can't quite figure it out, and it's so intriguing to me.
Yeah, I'm more interested in this story about the gods, and I'm glad that we have a way in there now because Alaris is like stuck with
Yeah.
them. Because I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing all day? And what do you mean? Because Atraxis is dead, like there's no sun anymore, huh? Like, how
Uh-huh.
is that possible?
That is so crazy. Like eternal darkness. You know Nyaxia is just like
Oh, she's eating it up. She's so excited.
Yeah. So we'll see. The lack of, I was wondering if that was going to happen. And then when she said, like, it's eternal night, I was like, shit. That's crazy. Okay, so last up on our list, we have Ophelia, and I'm hoping you felt the same way about her as me. So go ahead. What were your thoughts?
The perfect villain of all time. I think that she's so incredibly relatable and justified in everything that she did. I feel obviously very bad for her, and I think that that's important for me to like a villain. Like there has to be some sort of like heartstring tug.
Yeah.
I had it. I was like, I feel so bad for Ophelia. Like if I was her, I would be acting worse.
Like, same. No, I wrote the exact same thing. Like, she was such a good character. Carissa has this way of writing a villain that you are like low-key so obsessed with, and you actually end up liking in the end. She was scary as fuck when she very first came into the story. I was like petrified of this because I was like, okay, she obviously has the ability to like kill Asar, and they're not even gonna make it to like the next sanctum.
Yeah.
But then like once you explain like all the background and everything, and like I feel like Carissa did a really good job calling out how she's different from the other wraiths because she like lives halfway in like the mortal world and halfway in the underworld. But I genuinely like, I wish her such peace in the afterlife. I was so sad for her at the end, like knowing that she just has to live through that moment over and over and over again. But
yeah, that was really sad. I was so happy that she got to actually go on her way just into the afterlife and be happy.
Yeah.
And I loved that she didn't forgive Asar. She's like, that would be too tidy. She's like, you know what? I'm not going to be mad about it anymore. I don't forgive you. But I do think like that, however many years underneath the underworld, can you hear her crying?
No.
Okay. I think she fell. Anyway, kind of warps your memory or your perception of things because it's obvious that he did it out of love and desperation to have her back. But from her point of view, like he sent her to a lifetime of suffering. And so she's like, I'm not just going to forgive you for that.
Yeah.
So
like
anyway,
I've actually
I think to the bitter end, she was my favorite.
No, she was amazing. Even though she was like pissing me off, she kept showing up, and I was like, "Not this bitch again! Like, please, can we get through a single?"
I was so happy every
sanctum?"
time she came. I was like, "Here she comes!" Like, she just had to remind people, and then she like brought Malik. The craziest part about that to me was that she has beef with Malik also. Like he killed her, and she's like, "I'm gonna bring you, and like we can still hunt these people together since you still have a vendetta. Like we could right. It's not too late to team up."
Right. No, she was the best. Like, absolutely loved her. So that's all that we have for our characters. Now it is time for us to play favorites. So we'll start with our favorite characters. So who was yours?
Esme, 1000%. We didn't talk about her a lot, but
okay.
Oh my God, she was so funny when she was like talking about like Misha's décolletage, and is that how you say that? She was like, "Oh, what do you think? Doesn't she have the most beautiful one?" He's like, "I don't comment on those unless I'm invited." She's like, "Oh my God, men these days, like, can we not catch a break?" She was so funny and just like a kindred spirit.
Yes. No, I loved the scene at her house, and I honestly was so thankful for that. I was like, finally, we're not in this raggedy ass hallway with like these broken down pieces of shit, like bedrooms in them. Finally, there was someplace nice, and the fact that there was like food there, and Misha's like, "Oh, this is so delicious," but the food actually had like absolutely no nutritional like content, or wasn't like doing anything for her. I thought it was so funny.
I thought that was really funny and like really well written. And it also like gives Esme's character a bit of a leg up for me too, because she figured out how to manipulate the in between like worlds to she's like, "Oh, I just created the life that I wanted. I have like servants and food and baths and whatever else I want." Like what, like that's amazing. And then whenever everyone like started rushing into her house, and she was like, "Oh good, now I get to have some fun. I'm just gonna have to beat their asses real quick."
No, she's the queen, and I hope that we catch back up with her again in the
I
next
hope so
book.
too. Truly.
I think that we will. Um, okay, so my favorite character was obviously Luce, and
Clearly.
and I stand by it, but by the same token, like I really fucking love Ophelia and the element that like she added to the story. And like this is a trend with Carissa, like with the last series, it was Septimus. Like, and it was not even close. Nobody was even close to being my favorite character, like next to Septimus.
Yeah.
Um
No, she's
it's
so good at writing
man.
them. Those were my top three also. Like Esme,
Okay.
Luce, and Ophelia they were the stars of the show.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, now we'll move on to favorite scene. What was yours?
Okay, mine, I really, really, really enjoyed the Psyche Sanctum. And something that I don't know if I wrote this down, but I really enjoy how Carissa breaks her books down into parts. Like something about that just like does something for my brain. Makes it a lot easier to like process. But I
Mm-hmm.
loved like getting all of the flashbacks, finding out how Asar got his scars, finding out like the backstory with Ophelia. Um, and then also like Misha finally uses her Shadowborn magic when they like get inside the temple and there's this box with her like reflection, which that was like a really cool scene too. And then obviously that is where Asar gets his air mark.
Oh
And
yeah, that was just a good scene altogether. Like
yeah,
lots of
yeah,
factors.
yes. And then also that's when Chandra was killed and Elias scurried
Oh
off. So
wow, what a
like,
good section of the
yeah,
book.
it was a good just like whole sequence of events there. What about you?
Okay, so this was really hard for me to pick because I read 60% of the book yesterday. So a lot of it
Yeah.
was just like kind of mingling together. But
Uh-huh.
I absolutely loved the ending. I was like reeling after it. Whenever they killed her, I'm like, no, they didn't. And then I'm like, oh my God, she's a wraith. And then she looks up and it's fucking Vincent. I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And then Asar lives. So he's going to somehow bring her back. And there's this big question to me of, okay, if she gets brought back, is she going to be like loose? Like, is she going to be
Uh-huh.
some sort of half vampire? Is she going to be half wraith? Like, what does that look like? But it
Mm.
seemed like with Chandra, it was so fresh that she was basically just a normal human. So hopefully
Yeah.
that's what happens.
I have been thinking the same thing, and I also wonder if because he was planning to bring back Alaris, who had made it all the way to the underworld. I'm assuming. I think that was like the gist of things. Um, I'm wondering if Ophelia this happened to her because she wasn't all the way through the thing, so she only like got brought back to the point of like what she had kind of like disintegrated to. I'm so curious about the exact same thing. Like, how is this gonna like? How can you be alive when you're like dead? Like,
Mm-hmm.
like almost past the point of necromancy. So
Yeah.
I had the same thought.
And
But
then,
go ahead.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the ending. Like, I feel like I like this ending of book one, which I know is book three, but like book one of this duology, better than I liked the ending of Rain and Araya's
Okay.
duology. Like, I just feel like this is more on your toes, whereas book one of Rain and Araya's, I felt like it was like for the most part wrapped up, and you just kind of like looked forward to what was coming next. But this one, I'm like, oh
Yeah,
fuck,
you're like,
like
what the
what's
heck is
gonna
going to happen?
happen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. And then I also had two scenes that were the same as yours. When she abandons Chandra after she finds out that she kills the vampire babies, I was like, good, get the fuck away from that lady. Like, the light doesn't mean anything. Like, and now you kind of also see what Asar meant when he was talking about what these quote missionaries do to vampires.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, good. This has given her a really good reason to like say, fuck the gods.
Yeah.
And it felt like a big turning point for her. Cause then right after that, she starts using her Shadowborn magic and she's really
Yes.
kind of pivoted in whose side she's on.
Yeah.
So
No,
those are
so
my
good.
favorites.
Okay. Such good ones. All right, now it is time for us to, in my opinion, begrudgingly talk some shit. So we'll start with our least favorite scene. What was yours?
Okay, this one, it was not hard for me to pick at all because there was hardly any bad scenes. So I just had to
Yeah.
pick the one that made me feel the worst. And that was when she kills Seisha. Like, not contended by any other
Mm-hmm.
scene. That was terrible. I
Mm-hmm.
never want to hear about it again, but they kept bringing it up.
I know.
And so I was just like, okay, this is my least favorite part. Just my whole least favorite aspect of the book was that.
Yeah, no, it was so hard to hear. And like, I feel like she didn't even give it away because she kept saying, like, I'm imagining Seisha. And I can't remember exactly how she described it, but like with her throat, like ripped open or
Yeah,
something like that. Um, I didn't put two and two together. Like, I really did
no, me
not
either.
think that that was going to be how it ended. But that part, like, broke me. And especially for someone like Misha, who I feel like is really like, kind of like softer and sweet and like has more like sad or is more open to like those sad emotions, like, you know, that just absolutely gutted her.
Oh my God, she
So that
fucking hated it.
yeah, that was tough. Okay. um so I'm kind of same boat. Like, there was really not that many bad scenes to pick from. Like, I honestly couldn't narrow it down, but I just wrote in the secret sanctum when she like wakes up and she's on the beach and she's like kind of disoriented a little bit, and like she's looking at Eoman but he doesn't quite look right, and like she's kind of like swaying on her feet, whatever. For some reason, reading that like made me feel dizzy, like me physically feel dizzy. And so that was my least favorite, and it was because like she was hungry, and then we get to like a really good part, which is where they like feed from each other. um but I couldn't pick a bad scene or like a part that I dislike. I completely agree with you though. Like, the Seisha was really bad, but that part I just didn't enjoy reading it because I was like, I can't continue reading about a character who's disoriented because like it's making me feel like my eyes are crossed or something.
That's hilarious. Yeah, but that also points to like Carissa being a great description,
Yeah.
like whatever, a great writer and
Yeah.
good with words, unlike me right
Yep.
now. Okay, so least favorite scene. Now, what's something about the plot or the book that you would change or that you hated? Which I don't think that we either of us have something that like we
Uh-uh.
absolutely hated in this book.
No. So this is my thing that I would change. I don't know exactly how to like phrase this, but I felt like we needed more slash different characters. Like, I really like the characters that we have, but I felt like we were missing some kind of like side character companion who was like a larger part of the story. Like, I know we had Chandra and Elias, but they played such a minimal role, and I almost was getting bored with the fact that like they quite literally only had each other to talk to. There was no
Yeah.
other like goings on or anything, and like I don't like I love this first person point of view. That's how I mean single point of view. That's how I prefer my books to be written. But I did feel like we were missing some, like, her having a conversation over here with someone who ends up being like a really good friend of hers or something like that. Like, we got it interspersed a little bit, but I just was missing like a little bit more of the character aspect of things.
That's a really good take. I didn't even think about that, but I did find myself just kind of growing bored with what was going on because it was either they were both safe and just like chilling, which I think Esme was supposed
Yeah.
to provide that, but it was just such a short little
Yeah.
stint at her house. But it was like they were either together and safe and happy or they were being attacked. And it was just, there wasn't like really a
Literally.
good happy in between except for at Esme's house, which I think is why I liked her so much. Is like, oh my God, I can take a deep breath. They're somewhere
Yes.
fine. They're good.
Yes.
The one thing
Completely
that I would
agree.
change is I feel like it was definitely not like a short book, quote unquote, but somehow it still felt really rushed. And I don't know if that's because everything just, there was a lot that happened, which is fine. But I feel like mainly the reason it felt that way is because it wasn't accurately described while things were happening, how long they were taking. It was like, okay, we slept, we hung out in Morthrin, and we did this, then we did that. And then the next thing we know, she's saying that there has been months that passed by. If I had guessed, I was gonna say 2 weeks. And she's saying like
Yeah.
months. I'm like, what?
Okay. That is so crazy that you say that because that is quite literally my hot take, which is the next like portion that we would do. So like,
Okay.
and And it's more a hot take for me personally, because as we learned with The Road of Bones, I despise like listening to the travel and like the mundane stuff about all of that. But in this book specifically, it was literally like, so we walked for 6 days and then we're here. And like, that's what you get from that portion of the story. You don't get anything else from in between. So like the time frame, while she kept reminding you, like we walked for several days, but you get absolutely no tidbits into that. And we also,
It doesn't feel like much time has passed.
yes, and we also were missing the parts where like he trained her in her shadow magic and they were closing the gates and like doing all of the stuff. Like she tells you so you know, but you're not really getting like a full understanding of like what all happened. And honestly, even when by the time she tells you that he had been training her in the shadow magic, like I think we're literally in the secrets sanctum, like almost at the end of the book. So like we didn't know any of that leading up to all of this. So that was my hot take. Like,
Yeah. I feel like usually I'm talking about books and saying, okay, that could have been wrapped up, you know? But in this particular instance, I'm like, this could have been expanded upon. I would have taken, which I think I have said this before, like I would have taken 50 more pages. It's not going to bother me for you to just expand upon things that feel important.
yeah.
And I don't know if, I feel like her other books were much longer. I don't know if she's just like been in the headspace of writing those 2 novellas and maybe she's like, oh, people don't want to read 800 pages about Misha, but like, yes, I did want to.
Completely agree. And another like aspect of that is I felt like you said, we weren't getting like regular relationship with them. And I don't necessarily want to say that I didn't feel like that they had a connection, because I did. Like I wanted them to get together and I felt like she did a good job like building the relationship up. But I would have preferred more like downtime conversations between the two of them. Like I would have loved to get like a training scene between the two of them just to like kind of build the chemistry a little bit more.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I felt like all their conversations were truly just like learning about one another, but nothing felt particularly like sparky, like, ooh, that's so like hot and like setting us up for the future. So yeah, that was my hot take. And then going off of that, like I didn't feel desperate for them to get together. And I don't know if other people maybe did, but at the same time, like I enjoy them being together. You know?
I think the one thing lends itself to the other, because you don't have all of the descriptive events of them hanging out and training and how often they were actually together and how much stuff they saw and did together. You don't get as much of a build up. It almost just feels like a friends or acquaintances to lovers quickly.
Yeah. Yes. No, exactly. So did you have any hot takes now that I've already said mine?
I kind of already said mine earlier. I don't think that there was a good or strong enough tie-in with the other story, because obviously Rain and Araya, we're over. We're done talking about them, but I still think that talking about what's going on in the Nightborn court or whatever would have helped me like kind of set the whole scene, because I don't know what's going on over there. I know it sounds like the Bloodborne has like a human, I don't know, realm, human nation that they took over, but there's none of like relating it all back into like one big overarching story. And so I feel like it's disjointed.
Okay, I think that's totally fair. And there's definitely parts of it like I really enjoyed this setting and like how she did this. And she obviously, I think just like the nature of them being in the underworld and having absolutely no access to like any other kind of like receiving news or knowing what's going on, that doesn't necessarily lend itself to like hearing more about the Night Court and what's going on. But I agree with you. And like I had seen, and like I don't necessarily like follow Carissa. I just look at her stories like every now and then if I'm like on the club's Instagram. But I did happen to catch it one day where she did a Q&A and someone said like, do I need to reread the first 2 books? And she said, obviously you can, but I try to really incorporate things to like help remind you what happened in the first.
Because I don't remember, she did not bring up one thing about what happened at the end of the last book.
Okay. When she was saying like they did something with Alaris's teeth, like in the faintest like recesses of my mind, I remember that, but I actually don't remember what they did with Alaris's teeth in the other book. And like, I'm having a really hard time remembering, like, they said like Nikolai, and I don't really remember who
Yeah.
that is. And so I completely agree with you. Like, this feels completely like 100% totally separate. You're more so just like reminded that these things have happened in the past, but not necessarily in detail.
Yeah. I just needed more. I needed more detail and I needed more scene setting because
Mm-hmm.
I actually loved the way that this was written. I loved the scenery and all of the ideas. She has such good ideas. Every time we talk
Yeah.
about her, I'm like, God, how did you think of that?
Yes.
But again, like if we could just like tie it in for the lay people who are reading
Yeah.
and don't have your like probably 40-page outline, like I just needed a little bit more reminding and a little bit more like overarching theme to remind me how I got here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Okay, so last we will give our overall thoughts. So we'll do stars and chili peppers. So I'm so curious to know how you rated this book. So how did you feel?
Okay, I actually loved it so much. Again, this is a book that I read really fast, so I typically have more tender feelings towards books that I don't have to like sit with for a long time,
Uh-huh.
but I still think it's worth 4.5 stars. I really liked
Okay.
it. I think it was missing a romance aspect for me like a little bit, but not enough to like knock it down a bunch of points. I don't
Yeah.
always need that, and I think it's fine, especially with the amount of fucking porn I got with Throne of the Fallen. Like I was okay. And then for Chili's, I just gave it 1.5. I think I could be like maybe downplaying. The thing with Carissa is that she doesn't give you a lot of content, but when she delivers, she really delivers, and it's like it's
Yeah.
satiating. So
Yes.
it's not 1.5 derogatory, it's just 1.5.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
How do
So
you
I also gave, I said one chili question mark 1.5. I very much enjoy this level of spice. Like she did this in the first series too, or the first duology too. Like build one really great scene with like another like little one sprinkled in here and there. But I'm very satisfied like with that amount.
Yeah.
And then for the book, like I truly like I loved this book. I can't really find faults with it. Just for some reason, I'm not obsessed. Like it's not one that I'm just gonna like carry with me. So for that reason, I gave it 4 stars.
Okay. Yeah, it's fair.
I love the world. I love that it was not set in Obatreus. Like we're somewhere
Me too.
completely different.
Yeah.
The world, like you said, like she has this way of just like bringing life to everything. So like the mushrooms in the first one, the like body sanctum, and then like
I forgot to
the
say something about the mushrooms. I loved that so much. I had jotted it down and then
same.
totally forgot.
Same. And then like you've got like the floating rivers that was in the, I don't know, one of the other sanctums, the breath sanctum. And then like how also in the breath sanctum, like she said, when they were in the temple, like you could feel the temple breathing. Like how do you even think to add in that element to things? But she's just so creative. And like I said, like she could write her grocery list and I would gobble it up. Like she can write
Yeah.
anything and I will love it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I don't find myself like obsessing over it the way I have some books, but truly I enjoyed every moment
Yeah.
of the book, except for one. And I will say, I meant to say this whenever I was talking about the spice scene. Can we be done saying bud? Like, literally, what are you talking about? I have two really distinct words that I hate, and one is folds
Can
and
I?
one is
Oh my
bud,
God.
and she used them both back to back in the same sentence.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Folds. I'm more offended by folds than I am by bud, but neither one of them do I ever want to read. That's folds is literally disgusting.
That's crazy.
That's so funny. But like, if that's her one offense, that's totally fine. Like,
Yeah. No, I'll take
she
it.
writes perfect books. Like I said, I don't have any complaints about this book. I just don't feel like, you know?
Yeah, it's not gripping you.
Yeah.
Which, okay, so I feel like the first book of hers, I felt that way, and then the second book, like The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, I didn't feel as much about. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe it'll flip a little turn around,
Mm-hmm.
but even when I don't feel gripped, I still very much enjoy myself. So again,
I
not a lot of
agree.
bad things to say about this one, thankfully.
I agree. And honestly, I think that the next book you have to think will somehow like return to Obatreus, because I don't think she would take us to like the land of the gods for the entirety of the rest of the book. Like at the end of the day, Asar is now the king of the
Hmm.
Shadowborn vampires. So we'll have to return at some point. There has to be like a melding, and then it's a set of 3 duologies. So the next book will be the last one in this duology. She's got to set us up for what's to come next. So
Yeah,
there's going to have to be some more like inner workings in Obatreus. And I think that the next book could be amazing. So I'm excited to see.
I'm excited. I think so. The third duology has to be Bloodborne, right? Because we've already done
Yeah,
Nightborn, Shadowborn. So I'm ready for some Septimus. I'm ready to get back in there, see what he's doing.
same.
Um, yeah, I guess predictions will come after the
Yeah,
next, more easily after the next book. But yeah,
yeah.
speaking of the next book, what do you have in store for us for January?
Okay. So for our first book of 2025, um, I've selected a book that is popular.
You
Ev-
will be.
Popular.
Oh wait, that
um,
kind of slay. That was
I
exactly
told
the cadence.
I told you I can sing, bitch. Like y'all are gonna find out one of these days the level of my vocal talents. Anyway, this book is popular on TikTok, and people say like this is going to be the next book of the year. I feel like it hasn't taken off yet, though. It's almost as though like niche people are talking about it, but every single review is like, "Oh my god, this is going to be the book of the year." So, that being said, that book is Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. You guys probably haven't heard of it. You might have if you're like chronically on Book Talk, how I am. But I'm really, really, really excited about it. I've heard nothing but good things. Apparently, the ending is like a real cliffhanger,
Okay.
and I happen to be served Rachel's TikTok where she's like, people keep asking me like, when's the next book? When's the next book? And she's like, I can't tell you, but like know that it's coming soon. So let's hope
When
that
did
book
this
two
one come
comes.
out?
That's a really good question. I have absolutely no idea, but I can look it up and see. But I feel like it is like relatively new-ish, so not that long ago. And I don't know if she has any like other books or like series or anything.
Okay, this might be her debut, which would be
Yeah,
awesome. I like imagine like your debut novel just pops off and everyone's calling it like the next book of the year.
right,
Rebecca
right.
Yarros.
Literally, I don't know if I don't know if it's KU either. I can look that up as well. This came out on, how do I find the date? I'm not used to, published May 12th, 2024. So it's been out for a
Okay.
while. Let me go
Okay.
back and see. Oh, I didn't mean to click that. Let me
So
see if I
maybe
can find
she
when book two.
is it published like traditionally?
Let me look on
Oh, that's what you're looking on
Kindle.
KU.
Yeah, I don't believe there is a release date set for book 2 yet, but she said that it should be coming soon. So give me one second. My Findle is being a little bit slow. I want to say after our last episode, when we were sitting here talking about what we're going to do next, I want to say I looked and I don't think it is on KU. I think that you have to purchase. Oh, it is on Kindle Unlimited.
Kindle Unlimited. We're back in the Kindle Unlimited business. If anyone's, interested in that. I personally am not, but I love going. There's nothing I love more than going to Barnes and Noble and spending $30 on a free book.
Yeah.
So, it really just it warms my heart. I can't wait to do that again. And so I better fucking like it.
I really have high hopes for this. All my girls that I trust on Book Talk have had good things to say. Sometimes I be getting recommendations and it's from girls who like seriously have the worst taste in books. But this one, I've heard good things from the good girls. So
Okay. Perfect.
We'll see.
Perfect. Well, I trust you. I trust them. And I'm very much looking forward to it. And then after January, I feel like we have so many books on our list, like the books that we're excited about that'll be coming out. So it's going to be a good year.
yeah, it will be. So I believe that has wrapped us up. I cannot believe it's been another full year of reading books, doing this podcast. Like it is
Crazy.
seriously so much fun. And we hope that you guys have enjoyed reading along with us this year and that you will continue to do so in 2025. So
Yeah, y'all better not ditch us. I hope you have a happy, happy, happy holiday season. Don't forget to wish Susanna a happy first birthday. And if you want to watch our wrap up episode, that should be dropping with this video, if not maybe like a week or two after, just to get everyone
Yeah.
through the holidays. So yeah, join us for that. And then if we don't see you until then, we'll see you in January.
yeah. All right, guys. We will see you in 2025. We'll see you next year. All right, guys. Talk to you then. Bye.
Bye.